In the bustling streets of London, where grey skies painted a somber backdrop, Emma Thompson walked with heavy steps. At 17, her world had been a constant struggle since her father's unexpected death 2 years ago. Her thin, worn jacket did little to protect her from the biting winter wind that seemed to mirror the coldness of her circumstances. Emma's family lived in a small, cramped apartment in the East End of the city. Her mother, Margaret, worked 2 jobs, cleaning offices during the day and serving late-night shifts at a local diner. Despite their combined efforts, money was always tight. Emma had been forced to leave school early to help support her younger brother, Thomas, who was just 10 years old. Every day was a battle. Emma would walk miles looking for odd jobs, her dreams of becoming a teacher slowly fading with each rejection. People on the street seemed to look through her, as if she were invisible. The weight of poverty pressed down on her shoulders, making each step feel like a mountain to climb. On this particular day, Emma had been walking for hours. She had gone to several job agencies, filled out countless applications, but heard nothing back. Her stomach growled, reminding her that breakfast had been nothing more than a half slice of stale bread shared with her brother that morning. As the afternoon light began to fade, Emma found herself near an old park. The benches were mostly empty, with only a few elderly people sitting quietly. Her eyes caught sight of an old man struggling with something. He seemed to be having trouble with a lunch package, his trembling hands unable to unwrap it properly. Something inside Emma stirred. Despite her own hunger and exhaustion, she felt a connection to the elderly gentleman. Without hesitation, she approached him, her voice soft and kind. "Excuse me, sir. Would you like some help?" The old man looked up, surprise etched across his weathered face. His eyes, clouded with age but still bright with intelligence, met Emma's. There was something vulnerable yet dignified about his struggle. "That would be very kind," he replied, his voice slightly shaky. Emma sat down beside him and carefully unwrapped the sandwich. Her hands, though thin and calloused from hard work, moved with gentle precision. She helped the old man take small bites, ensuring he was comfortable. "My name is William," the old man said between bites. "And you are?" "Emma," she replied with a small smile. "Emma Thompson." They began to talk. William asked about her life, and Emma found herself sharing more than she intended. She spoke about her dreams of becoming a teacher, about her mother's hard work, about her little brother who loved reading but rarely had new books. The park around them grew quieter. The winter light started to fade, casting long shadows across the empty benches. Emma realized she had spent nearly an hour sitting with William, helping him eat and listening to his stories about his own life as a teacher. As the cold began to intensify, Emma helped William gather his things. She made sure he was warm, adjusting his scarf and ensuring he was comfortable. Her act was pure, no expectation of reward, just a genuine human connection. "Thank you, Emma," William said, his eyes filled with a mixture of gratitude and something else, something that seemed like recognition. Emma helped William to a nearby shelter, ensuring he would be safe for the night. Her own journey home would be cold and long, but she felt a sense of warmth from helping someone in need. Little did Emma know that this simple act of kindness would change her life forever. Sometimes, the most extraordinary moments come from the most ordinary acts of compassion. As she walked home through the darkening London streets, Emma didn't realize that William was watching her, his eyes filled with a plan that would soon transform her world. The city continued its endless rhythm, unaware of the remarkable story about to unfold. "How is that possible?" Jack asked, leaning forward in his chair. Helen smiled. "That's where it gets interesting. According to the scrolls, the Keepers were a secret society of scholars who preserved knowledge from an even older civilization. They gathered wisdom and science from ancient sources and added their own discoveries." Mary frowned. "But why hide it in a coffin? Why not share this knowledge?" "Because they were afraid," Helen said, her voice growing serious. "The scroll says they faced persecution. People feared their knowledge and called it witchcraft or evil magic. The Keepers realized they would be killed, their work destroyed." Tom nodded slowly. "So they created a time capsule of sorts." "Exactly," Helen said. "But it's more than that. They didn't just want to preserve their knowledge. They wanted to send it forward to a specific time. She pointed to a section of her notes. The scroll says they had calculated that humanity would face a great crisis roughly 1,000 years in their future. They believed their knowledge could help prevent disaster. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed this information. Meanwhile, Robert had been studying the metal sphere day and night. He joined them now, carrying it carefully in a special container. "I think I know what this is," he said, placing the sphere on the table. "Based on the markings in Helen's translations, I believe it's some kind of storage device." "Like a book?" Jack asked. Robert shook his head. "More advanced than that. The markings on this sphere correspond to instructions in the scroll. There's a way to activate it." Tom stared at the sphere. "Activate it? You mean it's some kind of machine?" "I think so," Robert replied. "The scroll describes a method to make it work. It involves applying pressure to specific points in a certain sequence." The team looked at each other, uncertainty and excitement on their faces. "Should we try it?" Mary asked quietly. Tom thought for a long moment. "We need to document everything first. And we should inform the university board." "The scrolls are clear," Helen added. "They say the sphere contains vital information about preventing environmental damage, sustainable energy, and healing the Earth." They saw the damage beginning in their time and projected how it would worsen. By evening, the university board had been briefed, and additional experts in various fields had joined them. The lab was crowded with people, all watching as Robert prepared to activate the sphere. "According to the instructions," he explained, "I need to press these 5 points in this specific order. Then the sphere should open or activate somehow." Everyone held their breath as Robert carefully followed the ancient instructions. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a soft humming sound filled the room. The surface of the sphere began to glow with a gentle blue light. The markings lit up one by one, creating patterns that shifted and changed. "It's working," Robert whispered in awe. Suddenly, the sphere rose slightly above the table, floating in mid-air. The blue light grew stronger, and then the sphere opened, splitting into 2 halves that hovered apart from each other. Between them appeared what looked like a 3-dimensional image made of light. It showed a map of the Earth, but with markings and symbols overlaid on various regions. A collective gasp filled the room. "It's some kind of projection," Tom said, his voice barely audible. "But this technology, it shouldn't be possible." Helen stepped closer, her eyes wide. "Look at the markings. They match descriptions in the scrolls. These are locations of something important." As they watched in stunned silence, the image began to change, showing different views of the Earth, focusing on specific areas, displaying what appeared to be energy patterns and resource locations. "The keepers weren't just preserving their own knowledge," Helen said, realization dawning on her face. "They were giving us a map. A guide to save our planet." News of the discovery spread quickly through the scientific community. Within days, experts from around the world arrived at the university to examine the sphere in the scrolls. Security had been increased, with guards posted at every entrance to the building. The government had taken an interest too, sending officials to observe the team's progress. Tom found himself thrust into the spotlight, giving briefings and explaining their findings again and again. He barely had time to continue the actual research. "We need to understand what these locations mean," he told the assembled team one morning, pointing to the map that the sphere projected. "The keepers marked these spots for a reason." Dr. William Davies, a geologist who had flown in from Scotland, stepped forward. "I've been studying the patterns, and I have a theory." He pointed to several glowing spots on the projection. "These areas correspond to underground water sources and mineral deposits that we've only recently discovered with modern technology." "But how could they have known about them?" Mary asked. "That's the question," William replied. "Either they had technology we don't understand, or they had access to knowledge from an even earlier civilization." Helen had continued translating the remaining scrolls. She joined them, carrying her latest notes. "I think I've found a clue," she said. The second scroll describes a network of what they call Earth veins, natural channels of energy that flow through the planet.
Like ley lines? Jack suggested.
Similar, but more scientific, Helen explained. They describe these channels as carrying thermal energy, water, and minerals. The keepers believed that tapping into these veins correctly could provide endless clean energy. Robert had been working with a team of engineers to understand the sphere's technology. "We've discovered something remarkable," he announced. "The sphere isn't just showing us information, it's scanning our world in real time." "That's impossible," Tom said, shaking his head.
"Watch," Robert replied.
He placed a simple object, a pencil, on the table beneath the hovering sphere. The projection flickered, and suddenly a small representation of the pencil appeared within the larger map.
"It's responding to its environment," Robert explained. "Somehow, it's still active, still aware." The implications stunned everyone into silence.
As days turned into weeks, the team made more discoveries. The third scroll contained detailed instructions for building devices that could tap into the Earth's natural energy without causing harm. The fourth held medical knowledge, including plant combinations that modern tests proved had powerful healing properties. But it was the fifth scroll that changed everything. "It's a warning," Helen said, her face grave as she shared her latest translation. The keepers foresaw a time when the Earth would grow sick from human activities. They predicted rising temperatures, violent storms, failing crops, all things we're experiencing now.
"Did they say how to stop it?" Tom asked quietly. Helen nodded slowly.
They did. They believed the problem was an imbalance, taking from the Earth without giving back. Their technology was based on exchange rather than extraction.
The sphere continued to reveal its secrets. When asked specific questions, it would shift its projection to show relevant information.
It was like having a conversation with people who had lived 1,000 years ago. One evening, as Tom worked late in the lab, something unexpected happened. The sphere's light suddenly intensified, and the projection changed to show a single human figure. Tom called the others immediately.
"It looks like some kind of recording," Robert said as they watched the glowing figure.
The figure began to move, making gestures that seemed deliberate and precise.
After a moment, Helen gasped. "It's a language," she said. "A sign language. They're trying to communicate directly with us."
Working through the night, Helen began to decipher the messages. By morning, she had translated enough to understand the basics. "It's from the leader of the keepers," she told the team, her voice filled with wonder. "He's telling us that the sphere contains templates for devices that can heal the damage done to our planet.
But we need to act quickly."
Government officials listened with increasing interest as the team explained the potential of the ancient technology. Plans were made to test the first device, a simple water purifier based on the keepers' designs. The test took place at a small, polluted lake near the university. The device, built according to the sphere's projections, was no larger than a suitcase. When activated, it began to emit a soft humming, similar to the sphere itself.
Within hours, tests showed the water quality improving. By the next day, the lake was clearer than it had been in decades. "It works by encouraging natural processes," Robert explained to the amazed officials.
"It doesn't force change, it helps nature heal itself faster." As the success of the first test spread, Tom found himself looking at the ancient sphere with new understanding. "They weren't just preserving knowledge," he said to Mary as they watched the glowing projection. "They were reaching out to us, across time itself, to help us when we needed it most." 6 months had passed since the discovery of the coffin. The world had changed in ways no one could have imagined. Tom stood at the window of his office, looking out at the university grounds where students walked between classes, seemingly unchanged.
But everything was different now.
The first healing device had been just the beginning. Following the keepers' designs, teams of scientists and engineers had built machines that cleaned the air in polluted cities.
Others restored damaged soil in farmlands that had been overused for generations.
The most impressive creation pulled plastic from the oceans and broke it down into harmless materials. A knock at his door interrupted Tom's thoughts. Mary entered, carrying a tablet with the latest news. The United Nations meeting is set for next week, she said, smiling.
They want you to present the findings to all world leaders. Tom nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility. Have we translated the final scroll completely? Helen finished it last night, Mary replied. She says you need to see it right away.
They walked together to the special laboratory where the sphere and scrolls were kept. The room had been expanded to accommodate the growing team of researchers. Helen sat at her desk, her face showing signs of both excitement and deep emotion.
Tom, she said, standing to greet him. The final scroll is different from the others. It's not technical information or warnings.
She handed him her notebook.
It's a letter, addressed to whoever found their message. Tom began to read Helen's translation.
To those who find our legacy, we are the keepers, guardians of knowledge in a time of darkness. We have seen visions of your world, both its wonders and its troubles.
Know that you are not alone in your struggles.
Long before your time, we faced similar challenges and nearly destroyed ourselves through greed and short-sightedness. Our greatest teacher came to us when we were at our lowest point. She showed us that the earth is not ours to use up, but a living system we are part of. The technology we have shared with you is not ours alone, it combines wisdom from many civilizations that came before us. There is one final gift we offer, the understanding that knowledge without compassion leads to destruction. The devices we have shown you will heal your world, but only if you heal the divisions among yourselves first. You must share these gifts with all people, not hoard them for power or wealth.
We believe in you. We have seen your potential.
That is why we prepared this message, waiting patiently for 1,000 years, believing that you would find it when you needed it most.
Tom looked up from the notebook, his eyes moist.
They believed in us, he whispered.
People who lived 1,000 years ago cared enough about us to do all this.
Robert joined them, carrying the sphere in its special container. The energy readings are changing, he said. It's like it knows we've read the final message. As they watched, the sphere began to glow more brightly than ever before. Its projection changed to show not just Earth, but the solar system, then the galaxy, and beyond.
It's showing us our place in the universe, Helen said softly.
A new image appeared, showing people from different times and places, all connected by lines of light. Ancient people in simple clothes, medieval scholars, modern scientists, and figures dressed in ways they couldn't recognize, future generations, perhaps.
I understand now, Tom said. The keepers weren't just one group.
They were part of a continuous chain of knowledge, passing wisdom forward through time.
And now we're part of that chain too.
The next week, Tom stood before the United Nations, the sphere floating beside him, projecting its message of hope for all to see. What we found in that ancient coffin wasn't just technology, he told the assembled world leaders. It was proof that humanity has faced great challenges before and overcome them. It was proof that we are capable of thinking beyond our own lifetimes, of caring about people we will never meet. In the months that followed, countries that had been enemies for generations began working together. The Keeper's technology was shared freely, with teams teaching communities around the world how to build and use the healing devices. 1 year after the discovery, Tom returned to the burial site where it had all begun. The area had been preserved as a historical landmark. He stood alone by the empty coffin, now carefully protected under glass.
Thank you, he said quietly.
We heard your message.
We're trying to be worthy of your trust.
As he turned to leave, he noticed something he hadn't seen before, a small carving on the inside of the coffin lid. It was simple, a hand reaching out to another hand. The universal symbol of connection, of one person helping another across the divide of time itself.
Tom smiled.
The chain remained unbroken.
The legacy continued.